Hey guys, so today this is going to be part 3 of building my K-swapped Honda Insight. And today I'm going to be taking apart the motor to put on some, what many people are consider are required mods, essential mods, which is the RBC timing chain gear and the Type S oil pump. So first you want to take off your valve cover and your oil pan. All right, so now that your oil pump or your oil pan is off, you can get rid of this massive balance shaft oil pump, which will allow you to rev closer to 9,000 RPM from what I've heard, instead of the standard, I believe it's around 6,500 with these K24A2s. And then next you want to take off your timing cover. So probably going to need to take your pulley off, maybe your motor mount. I'm not seeing much else, so but yeah, the next step, get the front of this cover off. Now, a lot of people recommend that you use a weighted socket for this, but it's going to be a 19mm bolt. This was a pain in the ass. At least that was struggling to get it out. So I highly recommend, if you have air tools, go with a weighted socket and it'll take this bolt right out. All right, so now that you have that off, your pulley should just slide right off. You know, you need to use a puller, but mine just slid right off. I'm gonna take off this, I believe, motor mount next, and this is a 14mm 3 bolts real quick. Okay, so I got out all the bolts on the timing cover, and it is 13 bolts. Something to note is that these top 2 bolts are a little bit different in length. When I say top 2, they are the bottom 2, I guess, the ones closest to the actual oil pump. So that's something to note if you're going to do this. Make sure you're putting the right bolts back in the right spots. So the easiest spot I found to pry this off would be right here at this ear, but just be careful because you don't want to break it off. So here's a correction. One other thing needs to come off, this sensor here, which is another 2 10 bolts. So another correction here, it was just 1 bolt and then this just pulls out. And it should be easy enough to pull out by hand. Thing with this, I would assume if you're watching this, it's your first time doing it. This, if you have all the bolts out, it should be easy enough where you can just stick your screwdriver in here, twist it 180 degrees, and it should pop this whole side off, no problem. If it's harder than that, you're probably missing a bolt somewhere. Now, because this is a pretty quick and dirty job, I'm not going to be painting my engine bay or my engine, but if you wanted to paint your engine, I highly recommend you take everything off it except for essentially the long block. So the bottom end, the oil pan, the head, and the valve cover, I would paint that separately, but leave it on the engine when you're actually painting. I have painted a couple other blocks. They're pretty easy. You just, scrub it down, use some degreaser, wipe it, make sure it's all nice and clean, and then you can paint. And they normally turn out pretty good. This is one of my engines. And then I have one over here in the Camaro. That's this like chrome orange bronze color. But both paint jobs turned out well doing it like that. No, before you do all this, actually, I forgot a crucial step here. You should put your engine to top dead center, and then that way you can check that your markings are all correct for your timing and take note of where they're at. So for top dead center, if you're looking at the front of the engine, you're going to be going top dead center of cylinder 1. All of your valves, I don't know if you can hear that, but all of your valves, all 4, should be loose. And then also you have your mark on your pulley as well as your timing cover. And then once that comes off, I'll show you the other stuff that lines up. Okay, so now that your timing cover's off, obviously you could see these before, but these dots should be straight up. These lines should be facing each other. And then down here on the oil pump, you should have an arrow right here and a dot on this gear. But so that'll, let you know that everything's lined up. Now, another thing I recommend before you take all this stuff off is take a marker and mark which links the dot was between. So in this case, I would be marking the end of this right here and the end of this right here, because this dot is between them. And that way, when you put on the new gear, you're gonna know where it should be oriented perfectly to match what it was before. Same thing with this one, and same, well, you should mark the links, yes, for the old one, so that when you put on the new oil pump, you'll know that that's the correct location. While you're in here, a lot of these K series engines have higher mileage. This one in particular has around 90,000 miles on it. The service interval for the timing chains is 80 to 120,000 miles. Now, because I'm trying to do this on a budget, and you know, it's going to be kind of a, you know, race car build, it's not my daily or anything, I'm going to be just kind of letting this ride and just hoping for the best here. And then maybe I'm planning on boost in the future, so I would assume I'm going to be taking the engine out when I boost it, in which case I'll do the timing chain then. But for now, I'm going to save myself $400 and just not do the timing chain. Hopefully that doesn't bite me in the ass. All right, so here you can see I have marked the chain like I said I would on all the locations. And also something I highly recommend that I haven't really done until now, Ziploc bags with labels for bolts make stuff so much easier. I've done a couple engine rebuilds. This is my first one. Well, this isn't really a rebuild per se, but this is my first one using the Ziplocs, and it's made everything way easier. All right, so let's go get off the oil pump. We have an oil pump tensioner right here, which needs to be loosened, which just take out these 3 bolts, and that should come off. Then we have 4 bolts here. We have 2 12s and then 2 14s, which need to come out, and I believe that's it. So let me do that, and I'll get back with you. All right, so now that that stuff's off, you should be able to lightly pry, and your oil pump should come loose. The next thing I'm gonna do, I think, is take off my timing chain tensioner so that I can get to my cam gear. And just like the oil pump tensioner, that was 3 10s. Here we have 3 10s, and we have 2 10s here. All right, so next I'm gonna take this off, and when you go to put this back on, this thing is marked outside so you know which way it was facing, because these would be on a different side if you put them on wrong. But yeah, so now, oh, falling over. Got my chain tensioner loose, so this should just pop off now. If not, maybe slide this gear off or something, but yeah. Okay, so yeah, to get the oil pump chain off, I did just slide this gear forward with it while it was coming off. Now, looking at what we have to do, you're probably gonna have to take this off, this chain guide, and you definitely have to take off this old windage tray for the new larger windage tray that the Type S pump comes with. But here's our oil pump. This is what we're looking at. And I don't know, these balance shafts, it kind of reminds me of like a centrifugal supercharger type of thing. So it's got these big things, and what these do in the cars that these engines come in is these balance shafts, obviously you can see on one side they have weights on them, and these weights kind of counterbalance some of the vibrations that the inline four causes, and that helps it be more reliable. But it also, with that extra rotating weight, it reduces the RPMs that the engine can rev to. Another thing we're going to have to take off probably is this little tray. And then also, while everything's apart, before you put anything else on, you should probably clean up your oil pan surface. I use a razor blade, and I don't know if I would recommend that, but a razor blade and maybe a wire wheel. Definitely, if you're going to wire wheel it though, cover up all this with rags or something so that you don't get shit down in your engine. Same thing here. I would clean up like these gasket surfaces, definitely. They have stuff on them. You know, this whole timing cover surface, you know, while you're here. And it's easy to get to. I'm actually probably going to take this off so I can clean up this edge easier. Maybe not, but just try to clean up everything while this is all apart. All right, so here's what we should be looking like right now. I went over all the gaskets with a razor blade, tried to take out both of these with a 5mm Allen, which is the correct size, but this one stripped. This one came out fine. They were in there really tight. But I think just the one out should be good. I'm gonna have to extract this at some point today off camera, but that's gonna be a pain in the ass. So next, I guess it's actually putting on the oil pump, which does require you to cut it and stuff, so I'll show you that next. Okay guys, so it's been a while since my last video, or the last time I filmed with this motor, but today I'm going to be extracting out this bolt, cutting my Type S oil pump so that it'll fit, and putting on my VTC gear. And then there will be another video of the rest of the assembly of the motor. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to get the oil pump installed tonight, but at least get it cut. Because I believe one of these passages, I need a plug, and I'm not sure if I have a bolt for that. If I can find a bolt, I'll put it in, and I'll put the windage tray in and stuff. But if I can't, oh well. And then also, I need Honda Bond for the oil pan, which I don't currently have. So, let's get to it. So, for this oil pump, I'm just kind of eyeballing it, kind of lining it up here. And then I'm going to be marking this flange. I'm going to measure the distance between the flange and the block. And then I'm just going to draw a rectangle. And yeah, we're going to go from there. Okay, so now I have it marked. And you want to leave this right here intact. Because I believe that's one of your tensioner mounts. So just leave this intact. But yeah, I'm gonna cut it with a little whizzer wheel. I'll show you the tool right here, and then I'm gonna go from there. All right, so here's my progress so far. I think for this, I'm gonna use a grinding, like a bench grinder. But then for this, I should be able to cut out the rest of it with the whizzer wheel. Okay, so here's my cuts. I'm looking good for the most part, other than just this part right here that's touching. So I'm gonna grind that down a little more, but otherwise, looking good. So it looks like this part is decent enough for now, but you see this little step right here in the center of the frame. I didn't cut down that corner enough, so I'm gonna grind that down on both sides. And we're gonna go from there. Okay, so now that I have this all grinded away, here's what it's looking like. What I'm gonna do next is I'm going to take a hand file, clean up any like burrs on there, and then also put it in a parts cleaner because as you can see, there's metal shavings everywhere on this thing. So yeah, that's next. Parts cleaner, make sure it's good. And then, yeah, let's get on to the VTC gear. Okay, so to get this timing gear off, what we need to do is up here, there's these two hexes. You need to hold that with a wrench so it doesn't move because it can shear off a pin under the gear. And then once you're holding that, you should be good to just take this off, put on your new one, keep holding it, and then the torque spec is 83 foot-pounds from what I could find. Okay, so I got the old VTC gear off, and this is a 23, not a 24. I bought the wrong size. But, yeah, so I got my wrench on there. Here's the pin. If you break that, you have to buy a whole new camshaft, so just make sure you're holding that when you're torquing it. I heard that you're supposed to dip this in oil before you torque it down, so definitely do that. But yeah, so old one off, new one about to go on, And that's that simple. All right, so the oil pump, my parts cleaner is actually broken, so I just sprayed the shit out of it with brake clean. This, I'm actually not going to extract it. I'm just going to leave it in. Fuck it, why not? But these are looking like they're in good condition, so I'm going to leave them. But yeah. Okay, guys, so the new VTC gear is on and torqued down. My last thing that I think I'm going to do on this motor is, looks like this water pump is leaking a little bit. So I might take this off and maybe probably order the gaskets for this, so that isn't leaking when it's in my car. But yeah, so thanks for watching. Next episode is going to be building the rest of this back up and resealing it so that it's ready to go in the car. And then it's going to be moving on to the LSD for the transmission. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.